I thought I was losing it when I saw the Christmas tree move. Not sway, move. Lean forward like it was trying to hear me breathe. If you've ever seen a tree do that, you know you should have never gone inside. You clicked on this video because something in that line felt wrong. And your brain wants to know why. And trust me, you clicked the right story. Welcome back to Christmas Horror Stories, where the lights aren't decorations, they're signals. And the warmth you feel is just the house hiding something colder. I pulled up to the old place on a night when snow didn't fall, it attacked sideways. The same way it had the night I left years ago, refusing to look back. Funny how weather can remember things you try to forget. The porch light flickered once, not like a bulb dying, but like someone blinking. Inside, the living room still smelled like winter candles and dust trapped behind picture frames. But the warmth wasn't comforting, it felt staged, like a smile held too long. The Christmas tree stood in the corner, massive and over-decorated, branches heavy with ornaments that didn't match. But what froze me was the angle. It leaned. Not like it had fallen. Like it was listening. I tried to brush it off, but the house had other plans. The wrapping paper on the gifts shifted inward, tightening around the boxes as if something inside was adjusting its position. A line of pine needles stretched across the carpet, forming a neat, deliberate pattern, too straight, too intentional. Then came the footsteps above me. Slow. Measured. Perfectly synced with my heartbeat. Every thump in my chest, answered by a step in the attic. The house wasn't haunted by a presence. It was mirroring me, syncing its rhythm to mine like it had finally caught up after all these years. Lights flickered in small bursts, not random, not chaotic. They blinked like a quiet Morse code message carving itself into the room. A warning I pretended not to understand. Then the tree moved again. Not a sway. A shift. It leaned forward another inch, almost eager, shedding needles that came down slow and spiraled through the warm air like something exhaling. When the needles hit the floor, they didn't scatter. They formed a shape, a curled, delicate silhouette. A memory I had tried to bury under years of excuses. The decorations began to reposition themselves. The tree lights dimmed to a low red pulse. Ornaments turned one by one, each reflecting a younger version of me wearing an expression I wished I didn't recognize. The house didn't replay the memory. It replayed the emotion. The heat in my palms. The smell of smoke. The cold decision to step back instead of forward. The silence I let happen. No faces. No scenes. Just the guilt, sharpened, concentrated, undeniable. The house didn't want me to remember what happened. It wanted me to remember why I ran. Time warped. My phone screen froze at 12:14. The wall clock swung back and forth between 12 and 1 like a pendulum refusing to pick a moment. No matter how many times I blinked, outside stayed dark, like morning had been cancelled. Garlands tightened around the staircase like veins. Stockings hung open like mouths too shocked to close. The house kept decorating, but the arrangement looked less like a holiday and more like a funeral. My funeral. And that's when I understood. I wasn't visiting home. I was returning to the scene of my own unfinished memory. A place where Christmas never ended because the truth never did. And if your Christmas lights flicker tonight, don't just blame the wiring. Sometimes a house isn't trying to scare you. Sometimes it's trying to tell you it remembers something you don't. I returned home on Christmas Eve with a present I'd kept hidden for years. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Every decoration looked perfect, sterile almost, like a museum diorama. Not a single light flickered. Not a single bell rang. The living room smelled faintly of burnt pine and old paper, the kind of scent that curls in your chest and refuses to leave. In the center of the room sat a single gift. Dark red wrapping, ribbon tied tight, the bow twisted like a noose. It waited. Patient. Alive. I could feel it before I even touched it, as if it already knew me. I approached. The ornaments tilted subtly. Shadows stretched along the walls, bending toward the gift like fingers. The fireplace crackled, but there was no fire. Every reflection in the tree's ornaments showed fragments of the past, fleeting shapes I couldn't place at first, until I realized they were moments I had tried to forget. The house wasn't haunted by spirits. It was haunted by memory. Then it began. The ribbon tightened, then loosened, curling like a breathing thing. The paper tore gently, folding and unfolding on its own. Inside, there was nothing tangible, only darkness, soft and pulsing. It seemed to absorb the dim glow of the tree lights and candles, stretching shadows across the room. The ornaments leaned toward it. The garlands twisted like veins, pointing, guiding, demanding attention. Time shifted. Clocks froze. Snow outside spun endlessly in the same sideways storm. The darkness whispered with movement, forming abstract shapes, faces, figures, the people I had wronged, or left behind, symbolized in twisted shadow. The house didn't punish me. It showed me. I watched helplessly as the darkness revealed the memory I had buried. A past Christmas when I made a choice, a small act of cowardice, of neglect, that caused pain. The ribbon coiled around the shadow like a cage. The paper flared red as though it were burning the guilt into my vision. The ornaments leaned like teachers pointing at my shame. Even the tree, bent unnaturally, seemed to bow in acknowledgement. Every object participated in telling the story, silent, patient, undeniable. Then, just as suddenly as it started, the gift folded itself back together. But the darkness did not vanish. It lingered, subtle but heavy, sinking into the corners of the room, the gaps between shadows, pressing into the walls. The house remained perfectly quiet. Time refused to move forward. Outside, snow continued sideways, unbroken. I left, but I knew it had followed me. The darkness was now a tether, a reminder that some presents are never meant to be opened. Some Christmases never truly end. And in the silence, I could feel the house still watching, waiting for the next year, waiting for me. I stepped into the house on Christmas Eve expecting warmth, music, and laughter. Instead, there was silence. Even the wind outside seemed muted, as though the world had paused to watch. Every decoration gleamed with perfection, sterile, too clean, too symmetrical. Stockings hung neatly, garlands curled along the walls with unnatural precision. The air smelled faintly metallic, mixed with pine, a scent that curled in my chest and refused to leave. As I moved into the living room, I noticed the tree. It swayed slightly, though there was no breeze. Its ornaments reflected flickers of light, distorted, twisted, showing faces I thought I had long forgotten, my own among them. I felt watched. The house wasn't haunted by spirits. It was haunted by memory. Then the subtle disturbances began. Stockings twitched, ornaments tilted, and lights pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. A single ornament leaned forward, revealing a tiny carved face, screaming silently, my own face trapped in miniature agony. The metallic scent grew stronger, bitter and cold. The tree's needles brushed my arm as I walked past, though I hadn't touched it. The house wasn't just moving, it was alive, performing a silent carol only I could hear. Time distorted. Clocks froze. Shadows twisted across walls and ceiling, forming abstract shapes of frozen celebrations and missed opportunities. Snow outside continued falling sideways, relentless, endless. The house seemed to be composing a song from memory and guilt, each decoration a note, each flicker a verse. The memory hit me. I remembered the Christmas I lied to my little sister, told her our dog had run away when I knew it hadn't. The ornaments reflected my younger self, frozen in shame. The ribbon on the presents curled like a cage, binding my regret. Garlands twisted like veins, pointing accusingly at my mistakes. Even the tree bent unnaturally, bowing to the weight of my guilt. The darkness of the tree's shadows deepened, pulsing softly, consuming the warm light. The house wasn't punishing. It was showing me the truth I had tried to bury. The silence became unbearable, thick, almost musical, a distorted carol of regret I could neither escape nor answer. Then, abruptly, everything stopped. The ornament's tiny screaming face vanished. The lights went out. The room returned to stillness. But the shadows lingered. The metallic scent clung to my clothes, my skin, a tether I could not shake. I left, but the house followed me in memory. The snow spun sideways outside, unbroken. The carol echoed in my chest. And when I glanced back at the living room window before locking the door, the lights flickered once, forming a smile I didn't put there. Some carols are never sung out loud. Some Christmases never truly end. And that's tonight's story. Remember, some houses don't just hold memories. They hold your guilt, your regrets, your secrets. And every Christmas they wait.